Hello, happy October. Welcome to Adventures in Tarot Casting. This is the second time I've done this series. The first time was, oh gosh, probably a couple years ago. So I'm excited to do it again and to explain a little bit about the casting stages. These are the casting stickers, aka casting stages. They're basically what I like to bring all my tools to play on, right? Today I'm using the out of hand one, but this is the daily mixture. So this is the casting placements that began everything for me in this methodology, I guess we could call it. It was because I wanted to be able to use the tools that I make. So I had like a round spot for an oracle card because of my nature's portals. And then I had the regular, the main spot for the deck, and then the tile placements because that was when I first started making the tarot and Lenormand tiles. And this just became my go-to spread, basically. So like when people pull a daily card, this was my way of doing it. Like, I think just because I have such a busy brain, I couldn't just stop at one card. I wanted to bring in all the things. So I had created a board around this spread, this layout. This particular sticker has placements for like there's a square, circle, and a little tiny rectangle. So you could use charms, you could use anything. You're not limited to just the things that we make, obviously. You can bring in whatever you want to it. It's just kind of like a stage to invite you to come play. So that's basically what the casting stickers are for me. I transitioned from the board into a book because I wanted to be able to bring them with me. I wanted to go to conferences and bring a lot of the things that I made just to be able to share, and also because I just enjoy tarot casting. What's really exciting is I've been playing around with some of the newer spreads. So we're going to be doing these videos one a day for the month of October. Thought it would be a nice way to kind of kick off fall here in the Northeast and share with you something I've been working on. So today we are using the out of hand tarot casting stage, but I also have made making a set of cards that are based off of the 32 casting stickers backdrops that I've made recently or revisited. And those are going to be like a way to just shuffle through maybe a collection or a way to get to know the spreads. And on the backs of the cards, they have the placements and how to use the spread, which I think is, really, it's fun because I was looking at them, and some of them, like this one as an oracle, might not be an oracle, but you could look past the placements and see the hands going like this, which is my hands. And, I have just today tattooed on the sides, and it could just kind of focus in on what it is that you hold in your heart or what you love. I also, with this particular spread, we have the graph paper, and, it has a feeling of drawing on your notes, maybe in school days or in a course of study or whatever that is. So if you were using this as an oracle card, it could ask you to come into that space of what is it that you study that gets your full focus, that you really love, that brings you into that zone, right? And then on the backs of the cards, it's going to be a little bit more fancy than this. This is just my at-home prototype. I'm waiting for the print-on-demand version. But it has what the spread is about, and it says the spread is what started Adventures in Tarot Casting for me, and then it goes on to the positions. Not all of them are this busy or this detailed because you don't always need a huge layout, right? But this one, the first position here is the focus of the reading, and then the main energy, this is what it's all about, this is a focus. And then this became the oracle on the top was kind of like the umbrella, and it would weave in and out of all the other things that come to this conversation. I always look at this as kind of like a conversation that you're having with your cards, with divine, whatever it is that you connect to when you are you know, when you come to your cards, right? Casting stages are also, I meant to mention this a little earlier, like a preset altar, you know, depending on which one you go to, it kind of sets the tone for the reading. It's my way of showing up to my practice without lighting the candle and doing the incense and doing all that stuff. Not that there's anything bad with it. I'm just lazy and I like to have the backgrounds already done. It's kind of like I keep my art supplies set up for whenever inspiration strikes. That way, when I'm ready to draw or create, I don't have to bring it all out of a box and set it up, because then by that time, my inspiration has probably gone. So this one is like, okay, we get to come here and we get to come to the casting stage and we get to commune with our divine or our ancestors or whatever it is that's going to show up in that day, and then be able to connect with the cards and see what the conversation is. So let's just do a sample reading. This isn't meant to be a reading for the public. Sometimes it comes out and it resonates. That's awesome. But I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to walk you through this spread is the way that I usually do it. I've taught actually class on this one, and let's just get to it, okay? So the center is the focus of the reading. So you give your cards a quick shuffle. And we have the world, and how appropriate, right, for this particular stage. Like, hey, we're exploring this. I'm connecting with you, the greater world. This is marking a new chapter or something that I'm stepping into, this challenge for the month. So the focus of the reading is the world. And then I generally would do the oracle card next, but you could always do it at the beginning. It's really up to you. You know, you could even do it at the end. Anything that I've written on the backs of these is basically just a suggestion. It's by no means law. It's by, you know, you can do whatever you want with it. And let's see. And we've got Stan. We got the dog. And this was my dog that, he was my first dog that passed away years ago. I loved him so much. He was the dog that made me a dog person. And so the oracle of the world is like, hey, show up and, you know, share your love, right? Like for me, it's a curiosity, showing you how these stages work, my practice, inviting you into my practice. Stan was very trusting and loved everybody he met. For me, this card has so many layers because he is my heart dog. You know, like obviously if you've been around for a moment and you have the felt tarot, you know that Barney was mine and Tim's first dog together, but Stan was my first dog ever that was mine. And so he brings a whole nother layer of loyalty to me and love and to the world and showing the things that I create, right? So this umbrella of the oracle can weave in and out of all the other positions. And then what I would do is I would always bring in tarot tiles on the sides here. And these become like kind of the past and future. Because if the world is the present, then this is past, this is future. And again, it was just a way for me to play with the things that we're making, and tarot tiles were very new when this all started for me. So we have the Six of Swords, and when I place them, I usually go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. You can again feel called to do whatever you want. We got the Hermit there. And we have that Three of Pentacles, and this is obviously my RWS Redux deck. And the Queen of Pentacles. Hey, didn't we just have that for the collective for the week? I love the alignment like that. Okay, so when this happens, we have these tarot cards flanking the focus, right? So aesthetically, since they're smaller, my brain goes, they're just chiming in. Their voices aren't as big. They're not coming in to tell us everything that the world would tell us. They're literally just saying, hey, we're getting to this point of wanting to step through, wanting to act with love, wanting to share our love with the world, our passions, because of working together and wanting to see calmer shores, right? So I just literally will either go from my codex of what I know about these cards, or I'll start talking. And pro tip, record your readings when you do these. Like do what I'm doing, just put an overhead camera and just video record them. and start talking. And when you play it back, you're going to be surprised at what comes out. I always am. I'm always like, wow, I really needed to hear that message, right? So we've got the Six of Swords with the Three of Pentacles. And together, to me, I see those and I see moving past stuff that was like agitating, whatever it was that caused us to want to maybe emigrate, migrate, just get out of our current situation. And then the Three of Pentacles is talking about like maybe it's going to take a team. Maybe there's going to be some teamwork. And it starts to get really big at this point, right? And then we look to the future and we see the Hermit and we see the Queen of Pentacles. And right away, I see almost a very similar position. This one's standing, this one's looking down. The solitude, the sage advice that comes from knowing yourself and nurturing that and just knowing. And this is where it starts to get really big, you know. So I bring in Lenormand to add boundaries because since they are basically just the facts, ma'am, to the point, you know, they're going to help rein it in. So we're going to add those out. Sometimes I do them as I talk it out, or sometimes I lay them all out and just let it unfold that way. But for the sake of this video, we're just going with it, right? So in the past, we have Rider and we have the news and the messages. And then in that future tether, we have the Coffin. And then we'll just go ahead and throw the bottom three down. That way we have it. Zip it. My bags that I use are always from Moonlit Fae. Jenna is one of my closest and dearest friends, and she is a creative genius, so those are always the bags. So we have snake, mice, and garden, right? And so we can leave it at that for now, but we'll go back up, we'll touch on this, we'll get to this, and we'll go, okay, so that past position, we have the Rider now, tethering in these two things, bringing this thing that was very broad into focus and be like, why do we need to move on? Because there was a message that we received. Maybe the news cycle is just, we're so over it, right? But we're getting those messages, and then they're telling us to say, hey, teamwork, let's get our mind together, let's move on. The greater world is calling, this next chapter is calling. And then we go forward and we see this Hermit with the Queen of Pentacles, and now whatever they had that was getting really, really big of saying, okay, you need the solitude, you know, maybe you're going into your inner sanction, that's where you feel most comfortable, that's where you can nurture your family, all those things is saying, it's because you want it to end. It's ending, right? Like the world is saying that whatever this past issues was coming to the future, we're seeing it boxed up, we're seeing it ending. And that's good. It could literally mean, you know, the coffin could be a box, it could be a death, a funeral, it could be an ending. So that is kind of like where the future brings us. And then we also have this umbrella of the dog up here going, be curious about it, be compassionate and loyal to it, be loyal to the things that cause you to want to step out into the world and know that maybe your voice is what is needed in order to facilitate this ending that needs to happen, right? And so when we go to the undercurrent, which is the bottom here, and it says, it's like the action or the advice, or it could just be like kind of maybe something you don't see. Again, whatever you're called to in this moment. We see the snake, the mice, and the garden. And when I see that, I just see all the little problems and problematic people that are in the community that maybe they have a bullhorn and it's really loud. And that's why you're wanting this solitude and you want it all to end. You know, so this can give you the undercurrent of what it is that has also brought you to this point of really wanting to step out into the world, you know. And depending on what shows up here, you can even read the Lenormand as a 5 chain, like bring it down and go, okay, there was messages that could have been, you know, maybe they were shifty and shady and not so trustworthy. And they exposed all the little problems in the community. And since they're exposed, now they're coming to an end. You know, so you can see the different layers. Like you can read them together. You could see how these go with these. That's a way that I've always used this spread. And I've gotten such big messages and just like, oh, wow, yeah, never thought of it that way, or the clarity, you know, like that. And then we get to the 4 corners, and not all of the stickers, if they have the 4 corners, this one has, you know, air, water, fire, and earth. And so they could just be little check-ins. I usually throw like a charm, or I'm going to use the button oracle here. The round was to have little, I have my portal tiles, which are tiny. I would put those in there. So, you know, but since I'm already using an animal card, I don't need all the extra, but you can. See how they're like nice and small and you can fit them in here. You could put runes if you're working with runes. You could just anything, right? So with here, we're gonna say, okay, well, what do I need to check in with my thoughts, right? And so you could go, stop checking in with your thoughts. Stop overthinking, you know? And then we have the water, so you're going relationships, emotions. What do I need to know about that? And we have celebrate them. Celebrate the relationships that you have. Celebrate the emotions that show up. Celebrate that you're human and you have, you know, these big emotions. That's always enjoyable, or maybe not. And then you have fire, and you can think about like what you're passionate about, the actions that you take. And right now, there might be a call to pause on it. Maybe you've just been going too much. So pause is saying, think before you act on anything that's passionate, or just pause your actions for a bit. And then earth, whenever I see that, I think of grounding, and I think of like, you know, the things that just kind of help us stay in this, like don't want to rise above, don't want to bypass, like what is it to be a human being right now? And we have postpone, right? And so maybe what needs to happen in order to ground yourself and get back into it is to postpone some plans, or put off doing something, or, you know, postpone an appointment that you needed to do or thought you needed to do. It doesn't need to be postponed at this moment, you know. But anyway, that's how I like to show up with these. I like to play. I like to really just step into the board. The board is another level. Remember I was saying it's kind of like a study, so it could show how you show up in the world, what you're studying. Use that as an oracle. Before you bring your stuff to it, you can make that decision, or just let it kind of weave in and out as you're going through. So that was the out of hand casting stage, and we obviously have all the stickers for these in our shop, which the links are going to be in below. And I'm going to shuffle this real quick and figure out which one we're going to use for tomorrow. Okay, so let's just turn it over. I'm going to put the one off to the side so that way we don't shuffle that back in. And see what energy wants to show up for October 2nd, right? And you can overhand cast, you can do however you want to shuffle. This is just how I shuffle. And so tomorrow is shadow casting, and I'm going to pair some fun, appropriate decks to go with this theme. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know. Let me know in the notes, in the comments, and be sure to tell your friends who are tarot curious and would like to know more about this process. Thank you for being here with me, and happy October. Bye.